are we doing? So my name is Tochi, Onyia, and I will be hosting this panel session. To join the panel session with me is Mr. Ola Atose from CoinCoin. Please come up. Yeah, we have Mr. Wale from BitNob. Yeah, coming up now. And Kgothatso from Machankura. Yes, thank you very much. So there's something Elizabeth Stark said. She said she sees Bitcoin to be a movement, and I see Bitcoin to be a movement as well. And the world is experiencing this movement, a financial evolution through Bitcoin. So Mr. Ola, in what way can we accelerate the mass adoption of Bitcoin in Africa, and how can we support this development?
Yeah, so CoinCoin, just very quickly, is an exchange which serves Africa majorly. Our focus over the last 18 months has been on the corporate world. So we're an exchange, but we serve large corporates across Africa. So one of the things I feel, to answer your question, is we have to talk to everyone. We can't leave anyone out in the discussion about Bitcoin or stable coins, what have you. And what I find is, obviously within our community, we talk to each other. You know, we have a lot of us. You know, we're doing a number of different things. But what we are finding is we're getting more people on board. You know, either holding stable coins on their balance sheets as companies, or even adopting Bitcoin on the basis of the business we do, and sort of having that one-on-one, not just with company CFOs, company owners, but we're able to get them to personally adopt Bitcoin purely by solving the problems they have as companies. So again, just to sort of answer your question, I think we should carry on speaking to every strata, of our ecosystem, which I think isn't just about Bitcoiners and Bitcoin itself, but also the traditional world. And you'll be quite surprised the problems you solve. As you solve one problem for one company, they introduce other companies, right? So that's the way we've been doing it, and we've been very successful.
Beautiful, beautiful. Kgothatso, what are your thoughts?
So for example, hello? Okay. Yeah, so I was saying, in addition to what they've earlier said, I think the key things for me will probably be one, engaging governments to drive policies and regulations. If you take Nigeria as a case study, for example, last year, February last year, a regulation came out that says, banks should not support, crypto organizations, and that became the standard through which people look at this, and people say, is Bitcoin not banned, right? And people want to step back because of those regulations that are put in place. So I believe that, of course, one of the key things for us in ensuring we accelerate this is being able to influence policies, influence regulations, to be able to help people see that this is in no way a scam, this is in no way something you want to stay away from. This is something that makes a difference in how we live every day. So for me, that's one. Two, definitely will also be in increasing the use cases for it. I think that's really important. If I have something and I don't know what to do with it, then it doesn't really make much sense at the end of the day, right? So if we're able to increase the use cases for it, so for example, 2 weeks ago I was in Kenya, and I could use my Bitcoin using BitNob to be able to pay for my boat fare. When I took a taxi, I went to a restaurant, I ate. I was able to use that as well to make my payments as well. So when we're able to increase the use cases of this, people see more value in interacting with this on a daily basis, right? So it doesn't become something I'm ordering just to be able to make a quick buck. It becomes a part of my everyday life. And I think the more we have these use cases, the more the adoption begins to also grow as the cases. So as businesses accept payments using Bitcoin, as people can also spend their Bitcoin to buy coffee, to pay for fares, to do all of these different things, I think it also ensures that we can continue to scale up our efforts in driving adoption for Bitcoin. Also, in doing this, we need to build products, right? Because products are probably what gives you access to these things. So what Machankura is doing, what Bitnop is doing, and a lot of people in this room is in building those products. To build those products, we need an ecosystem in developing, for example, engineers. So shout out to what Kala is doing and as well. But even beyond just engineers, is a whole ecosystem. I mean, for you to have a functioning app, for example, you don't just need engineers. You need probably, product designers. You need product managers. You need it's a whole ecosystem, and ensuring that we can continue to nurture this ecosystem to deliver simple products that people can use and interact with on a day-to-day basis, continue to ensure that we can continue to accelerate adoption for Bitcoin. Yeah.
Oh, wow, interesting. So this leads me to my second question. What do you think, Mr. Wale, what do you think are the hurdles or challenges hindering the mass adoption of Bitcoin in Africa?
I think there are a couple. I think there are a couple. Back to my earlier point, I think one is definitely regulation. If government comes out and says this is not accepted, take it or leave it, there's a large chunk of people who take that as gospel truth, right? These are people who just listen to the news and then they hear, oh, this is it, this is what government is saying, and they take that as the gold standard. So definitely that is definitely hindering things in that regard. So I would say one, regulation is a key thing that is hindering. Sorry, help me again. Sorry, take the question.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Kgothatso, what are your thoughts on the challenges hindering the mass adoption of Bitcoin in Africa?
Well, I think one of the other things is that there's also not enough legitimate Bitcoin companies in Africa, if you're walking around the street and you talk to anyone about Bitcoin, they will say, isn't that not a scam? Because most likely the first way they've interacted with Bitcoin was through a scammer. And this is a shout out to all the Bitcoin scammers across the African continent. You guys are really doing a lot to push Bitcoin education, because how they usually scam people is they tell them all the right facts. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin blocks every 10 minutes and everything like that. The only thing that they do at the end is take all the people's money and not give them Bitcoin in return. So big shout out to the scammers. But yeah, so for me, I'd like to see more legitimate Bitcoin businesses operating across the continent and actually giving people access to Bitcoin. There's a huge hunger for Bitcoin across the African continent. Countries like Malawi, Tanzania, Mali, Benin, all have communities that are already waiting for the next Bitcoin on-ramp. And just look at companies like Binance and FTX and all the money that they are putting into the continent to get users on board. So yeah, they're a crypto company, so it would be interesting to see what it would happen if Bitcoin companies made similar efforts to actually unlock the African continent. And may the scammers keep doing a good job until the legitimate Bitcoin companies catch up.
Awesome. Yes, great one. Mr. Ola, as an individual and as a startup founder, what challenges or hurdles have you experienced, or do you think would hinder the mass adoption of Bitcoin in Africa?
Well, when we first started CoinCoin, it was back in 2017. The plan was to, create an exchange that will allow Africans, everyday Africans in the retail market, to come to the platform and buy crypto. But we ran into several stumbling blocks, and we didn't really fully launch with a product until 2021, which was last summer. And there are a number of reasons for that, and I'll follow on from what my brother here just said. Reputable companies. What makes a company reputable? Why should people come to CoinCoin and buy Bitcoin, right? It's a question I ask myself. And why didn't we go to market early enough? Well, we couldn't go to market because I didn't feel we were ready. I didn't feel that we had the back-end, the representation of what a company should look like. So I took my time, and what I was doing in that time was I was engaging some of the central banks here in Africa. We had a lot of conversations with some of them. They are certainly open to the idea, and these conversations still continue to this day. And the reason why I had these conversations was I feel that there's a way to bring, these traditional central bankers on board. And we have to have the discussions. We have to help them influence policy. And we have to let them see that there's a way they can regulate our space, similar to the way they regulate banks, right? So it's a conversation we had over and over. But again, as of last year, we decided to sort of, go straight to market and, start making money, which is what companies are supposed to do. And once we began, because we made inroads with some of the central banks, and because of my background as a traditional investment banker, I was able to use an existing network of bankers to influence people in that traditional world to get them to see Bitcoin, stablecoin, as a viable option. And how were we able to do that? Well, we have all the standard bits we're supposed to have. We have a very robust AML policy, a robust CTF, counter-terrorist finance policy. We have a very, very robust KYC and KYB process. And when these companies started to see how we work, they got more interested and they started to ask more questions. So I think the onus is on us to make sure that we speak to everyone, every strata of society, no matter who they are, right? We got to speak to everyone. We have clients now, oil and gas clients, logistics companies, LNG companies, foods companies, textile companies. We even have some small banks as clients. So things are happening, and I think the onus is on us, everyone in this room, to speak to everyone. Bitcoin is for us all, and we need to hold hands, not just as a community, but we need to hold hands, with those who are skeptical of us. Not just through education, but by actually solving the problems they have. So I would challenge everyone, the next time you speak to someone about Bitcoin, even if they're negative about it, ask them what problems they have. And you'll be surprised that Bitcoin may present a solution.
Awesome. Absolutely, I agree.
Hello? Yeah, if I may just add one or two things to that. I think a key part of this ordeal as well is around trust. And I think the key things that influence trust, for one, you have, like I said, regulation. I think two is also around media narratives. I think today, a lot of, when you look at the media, the focus on Bitcoin many times is around the pricing narrative. Just 2 days ago, or yesterday morning, I was still watching a report from CNBC talking about this conference, and just right, at the back of the screen, while they were talking about this conference, was the graph showing the price of Bitcoin and all the different red bars, coming down. And I think the media narrative make it, just almost emphasizing this conversation around this as a speculative tool, just focusing on the price versus the utility of it. Is also one of those, key hurdles we need to step beyond, and ensuring that media can paint this as a tool for good, right? In the ultimate scheme of things. I think the other part as well, probably just being just ease of understanding, right? I've spoken to a lot of people who will tell me, Wale, this Bitcoin thing, I just don't understand it, right? And I think being able to kind of like bring this knowledge, to in a way where people can understand, as simple as possible, interpreting it in different local languages to bring it home. Last 2 weeks, I was in Kenya in Machakos, and shout out to Ray of Paxful and what you guys are doing. We are the Built with Bitcoin school in Machakos, where we met with a number of women, about over 100 women in their 50s, in their 60s, trying to explain to them how Bitcoin works and what they can do. And I mean, just thank God for what KG has done with Machankura, because we can now use Machankura to kind of like explain to them how they can be onboarded using a feature phone, right? Because all these people don't have a smartphone, so you kind of like just already disconnect them from the whole ecosystem. So by being able to use their feature phones, do all of these things, then you can, of course, do that as well. So in terms of these hurdles, I think just the ease of access, right? Making it simple to access, making it simple to understand, ensuring the media narratives, are in favor of the utility of it versus just the speculative nature of it, with regulations. I think those are some of the hurdles we need to cross. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome, yeah, totally. So, Kgothatso, I know about Merchant Courier, right? And I recall you mentioning exonomia. So, as an individual and as a startup, what challenges have you encountered, right?
As Exonomia.
As exonomia and
Oh yeah, so Exonomia is actually a non-profit organization. It's not much of a startup. We just get donations and we do translations of Bitcoin literature into African languages. The challenges we have faced, well, one, getting donations, getting funding for the translations, and then also getting good translators, because I could do this project using an AI, like automatically translate the content, but that doesn't build a community, and that is the thing that Exonomia is actually trying to do. Build a community of Bitcoiners, literature nerds, language experts, whatever, that have gone through Bitcoin content and who you can then go to whenever you need to reach out to a community like that. Like, as they were saying, when they went to Kenya, they worked with Lynn and Master Guntai. They are the Bitcoiners in Kenya. And so if you ever want to engage with the Swahili-speaking community, Lynn is already doing translations as well. And on Nexonumia, you will literally see the translator at the bottom of every translation and the funder as well. So if you want to tap into that community in that country for people who speak that specific language, you just go to Exonomia and then engage with those people, build your community, engage with that community. And yeah, for me, that's a challenge where I'm like, okay, how would you then grow a community around Bitcoin?
Awesome, awesome. So this made me remember something that very frequent in Nigeria. When you meet someone and you try to talk to them about Bitcoin, and the first thing that they will ask you is, "I hope it is not a scam," right? So these are some of the perspective that people have about Bitcoin, right? Is there a way we can improve the perspective of people about Bitcoin for a more positive outcome, towards mass adoption of Bitcoin?
Oh yeah. For me, send them Bitcoin. Let's not talk too much. Let me send you Bitcoin. You then send the Bitcoin somewhere else. See that it actually works. Get used to transacting Bitcoin. And if they're interested, then they'll read about it. But Bitcoin is just a tool, So imagine you're introducing a person to a hammer and you want to talk about the science, fulcrum, leverage, all of these different things that the hammer allows you. You don't need to just, find a nail and show them. You put the nail here and then you bang it and then the hammer works, right? And then if they want to go and study the science behind the hammer, they'll go ahead and study the science behind the hammer. But for Bitcoin, it's just a tool. Let them use it. And then if it's a scam after they used it, well, that person doesn't want to talk to you in the first place, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Yes, so Mr. Ola, how do you think we can improve the perspective of people for a more positive outcome?
I think he answered that question already. We need to build more reputable companies. I've said this for a long time, that every company has to have a corporate structure, right? You have to have records. You have to have, you have to set up a company in the traditional way, right? And if you can, by all means, put your company data on a chain somewhere. That's something we're looking to do. Be as transparent as you can, but set up your company so that there's traceability to who you are, right? So that's the first step. So your corporate structure has to be on point. If it isn't, people will think you're a scam. Second thing, your platform. When people land on your platform, it says a lot. If it's not ready for production, then keep it away from production. Take your time, get the right designers in, make it look good, make it functional, right? And try to build and speak to the community through what you've built, and keep on building, keep on innovating, and keep on speaking to people, right? However you do that, whether it's on Telegram or WhatsApp or any of the other channels, keep on reaching out. To use a hammer and nail analog again. I mean, keep on banging away at that nail, right? Keep on reaching out. Make sure people know you're there, right? Let them know that you're doing something. You're doing everything you can to change, to make things better for all of us, right? Not just Bitcoiners or Bitcoiners as a community. Bitcoin is for all, not just for us in this room. So the onus again is on us to sort of really get out there and make sure that what we're doing is understandable and known to all. Some people won't have any interest. That's a fact. But for those who have problems, and again, what we've found is a lot of companies have issues. Here in Africa, we're helping scores of companies move funds, across Africa on a daily basis. So we have deep liquidity, and I got to thank all the mosquitoes out there who help us with USDT liquidity. I love you guys. You guys. I only exist. Coin only exists on the basis of the help we get from what Ray called the mosquitoes. But what you need to know is a lot of the USDT typically and some Bitcoin that the companies buy from us comes from you guys. So as a company, we're only successful because of you guys, right? So we're already all connected. And some of these companies, they don't want anyone to know they're dealing in Bitcoin or they use Bitcoin or they're holding Bitcoin on their balance sheets. They don't want you to know, but they're doing it already anyway. So as far as I'm concerned, Bitcoin is here to stay. We just need to keep on talking to people and be as reputable as we can. Integrity is all. Whatever we build, we must stand by it. We must put our passion into our programs and stick with it.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. So looking at the time, I just want to wrap up quickly. Mr. Wale, what do you think? How do you think we can improve the perspective of people in Nigeria and in Africa?
I mean, I think the answers already speak to itself. I think at the end of the day, it's about how do we increase the use cases for this, right? The more you can see this thing in action, the more you believe, right? I think just in addition to what they've earlier said, that will probably be my point. We need to be able to ensure we increase the use cases for it. When you see it every day, when I can make a payment with it, when someone can send me money, yesterday we announced the Strike partnership. Someone from the US can send you money in Nigeria. You can receive it in your mobile money wallets or in your MTN money wallet or your bank account in Nigeria, all powered by Bitcoin. I think that's really when we begin to change those perspectives. So people see it beyond just something I have to trade, buy low, sell high, but something that actually has to do with my everyday life. And I think the more of that we have, the more we can continue to improve how people see this ultimately.
Awesome, beautiful. Thank you so much, Mr. Wale. So I'll just take your last thoughts, Mr. Ola, and as we wrap up. What are your last thoughts?
Well, I've really enjoyed this conference. I'm not known to come to a lot of Bitcoin type conferences, but what I want to say is Bitcoin is certainly changing my life. It's changed my life for the better. I was on the dark side before. I was in investment banking for 13 years, but I saw the light, and that light is here. And here in Africa, we're proud to say that we're solving so many problems for a variety of companies, and now we're trying to do more in the retail space. We say coin, borderless Africa, borderless world. Ultimately, we know there are problems with money here in Africa, but we're changing that, right? Yeah. And we're excited to be part of the community. And personally, really excited. I'm so excited to come to Ghana for this. I come to Ghana very often, but to be here for this conference, it's been very special. With shout out to Farida, who was kind to put me on this panel. So I'm still excited. I've met so many beautiful people. And glad to be here and look forward to connecting, and doing so much more work. And shout out to the mosquitoes, man.
Awesome, thank you so much. Yeah, Kgothatso, any last words?
Oh no, I enjoyed myself in Ghana. weird enough, Ghana feels like South Africa, you know, like, so even when I landed, I was like, oh, I'm right at home. So later today at 6:30, I'll be at One Corner Garden. I think there's a restaurant owner who was around here who's using Machangura to accept Bitcoin payments. So that's where I'm going to have supper tonight. And if you want to join me for supper at 6:30, let's go. I'll be with Kumo and Lynn, and I think Marcel as well. So yeah, and I'm gonna pay in Bitcoin. So and yeah, I'm taking recommendations for what I should eat while I'm there before I leave Ghana. So send me a tweet on what I should order. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much. So Mr. Wale from BitNob, what is your last words?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been fun being here. I belong to the Bitcoin class of 2017. And of course, when I heard about Bitcoin in 2017, it was from a place of how to make a quick buck, right? And I remember in December 2017, the price of Bitcoin hitting 19,000, and I was so excited because I was telling my wife and everybody that was willing to hear that in 2018 I was going to be a multi-millionaire, to the moon, like he used to say. And of course, 2018 came, and instead of going to the moon, we went to the sea. And for me, it was a redefining moment to see that the way to think about this is definitely not the price. And ultimately, I met with Bernard later on after that experience and starting BitNob. Now we've seen that the cost is beyond just making a quick buck. The cost is about freedom, freedom for humanity, freedom for Africa, and ensuring that we can build products, we can build services around this, powered by Bitcoin, powered by Lightning, that ensures that people can access this on a day-to-day basis. There's a lot of problems we face out here in Africa, receiving money from places in the world, making simple payments. All of these are issues. Just from the announcement yesterday, there's a tweet on Jack Muller's thread where someone said, oh, I sent money back home and the bank took 40% of it as fees. That's ridiculous, right? And those are the real problems. So at the end of the day, it's about the problem, it's about solving the problem, and I'm glad that we all here, like minds, solving these problems. I think we need definitely more of this, where we can rub our minds together and take this knowledge back home, share with our family and friends. Yesterday, I remember seeing a 10-year-old lady who is already learning about Bitcoin and in this room. I think we need to start from a young age, educating, sharing knowledge, bonding together as a community, and building products that makes this easily accessible to everyone. So thanks to everyone. Thanks to Farida for making this happen.
Thank you very much.
Let's do
Thank you
this.
very much, everyone.